what a marketing mix is? It's like a recipe, and the ingredients you use and the quantity are very important to what the results are. Hi, this is Scott Howard, also known as ScLoHo, with a fresh episode of the Genuine ScLoHo Media and Marketing Podcast. This is the 383rd episode. I record these just about every week at the Federated Media Studios in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I work for WOWO, that's Wowo Radio, and a couple of our sister stations. And this is an ongoing collection of media, marketing, and personal insights that I've been sharing in podcast form since 2017. This is the audio version of my latest article, which I publish at my own website, scotthoward.me. Altogether, I've published over 1,600 articles, and this one is titled, Your Marketing Mix in 2025. A couple of headlines came into my inbox last month. How to offset diminishing returns on social media. And new study shows how radio exposure drives social media advertising. So, let's take a few minutes and talk about the marketing mix for your business in 2025. A couple weeks ago, I shared information from my Sound Advice newsletter and a story of how one of my radio clients was spending a gobs of money on social media and a fraction of that amount on the radio. But digging deeper, he should have been doing the opposite when we analyzed his results. When you do more than one form of marketing and advertising or use more than one platform or station, this is what we refer to as your marketing mix. In case you're unaware of my background, I've worked full-time in both the traditional radio world and also the digital world, where I was the social media magician for a multi-million-dollar e-commerce company. So none of this tech stuff is foreign to me. The issue is that if you rely on something bright and shiny and quit the older media, you risk losing the momentum that you had with what you were doing previously. The reality is that you can do both, but you need to understand how they work together. If done properly, it's not just an adding effect, but a multiplying effect. First, let's look at the problem that some social media marketers are having. Almost 8 in 10 performance marketers experience diminishing returns on social media, meaning that their return on ad spend declines as they spend more, according to a survey. From almost 1/3 of these, diminishing returns set in before they've reached even half of their social media advertising spend. The main culprits behind diminishing returns from social media advertising are perceived to be saturation of the target market, target audience, and user fatigue, rising costs, which is a key driver of concerns over paid social return on investment, are also seen as reasons for diminishing returns by a significant portion of the respondents to that particular survey. While many of the respondents in the survey are trying new and different forms of digital marketing, they're missing out on adding a method that can actually enhance what they are doing. But don't just take my word for it. Here's a quote from the other article I mentioned. Results of a study conducted by Critical Mass Insights find that radio listeners show a greater likelihood to click on social media ads for products or services that they've heard advertised on the radio. That survey, which was conducted in March of 2025 among 1,000 U.S. consumers, shows that more than half of listeners say they're more likely to click if they've already heard a radio ad. Overall, CMI finds that average listeners are twice as likely to click a link for a product that they've heard advertised on the radio versus one that they haven't. The study also finds that 72% of consumers are more likely to notice social media advertising for a product after they've heard about it on the radio, while 70%, 7 out of 10, say they're more likely to read a social media ad for a post, and 2/3 are more likely to try a new product after hearing about it on the radio. See that common thread there? On the radio. You see, consumers are inundated with advertising every day on every platform, and they're increasingly navigating an environment that includes fake AI-generated content. So it's no surprise that the first hearing about a product in the trusted, familiar environment of broadcast radio increases the legitimacy of the advertiser and the product in the consumer's minds. The power of radio goes beyond just consumers' behavior when it comes to social media ads, as 8 in 10 respondents say they trust broadcast radio hosts to recommend products and services to them. 44% say they're more likely to buy a product that they see in the grocery store if they heard about it on the radio first. And nearly half say they're more likely to visit a fast food restaurant after hearing it advertised on the radio. So this research highlights how radio can help brands cut through advertising's clutter and make them more top of mind, not just in that moment when listeners hear an ad, but later when they come across a product in a store, in a digital ad, or while driving down the highway. Hearing about a brand in a high-attention environment like radio changes how they respond to the brand in a more crowded environment. Before you jump in by yourself to try and figure out how to expand your marketing mix, it's important to understand the role of each form of media has in taking consumers through the journey from strangers to customers. That's where I can help. Contact me. If you'd like to invite our listeners to become your customers, go ahead and contact me about that too. Do you have any questions about advertising and marketing that you don't know who to ask? Ask me, Scott Howard. Email me, scott@wowo.com.
Podcasts by Federated Media.